The moment the red wine left the tray and splashed across the white shirt of the most powerful man in the room, Elena Reyes knew her life was over. Not metaphorically, actually over. She watched the crimson stain spread across expensive fabric that probably cost more than she made in 6 months, and felt the entire ballroom fall silent. 200 pairs of eyes turned toward her, 200 witnesses to her destruction. But what she didn't know, what no one in that room could have predicted, was that this moment of humiliation would become the beginning of everything she'd never dared to dream. Before we begin the story, comment below with the city you're watching from. Enjoy the story, everyone. Elena Reyes was 24 years old and invisible. That was the whole point of being a good maid. You moved through spaces without disrupting them, served without being noticed, existed in the background of other people's lives. She'd been working for Prestige Events, a high-end catering company in Los Angeles, for 3 years. The pay was barely enough to cover her share of a studio apartment in Koreatown that she split with 2 other girls, but the tips at wealthy events sometimes made the difference between eating and not eating that week. Tonight's event was the biggest she'd ever worked, a charity gala at the Beverly Hills hotel, filled with tech executives, entertainment moguls, and international business elite. The dress code for servers was strict: black dress, hair pulled back, minimal makeup, no jewelry, invisible. Elena had been assigned to the wine service, carrying trays of Chateau Margaux that cost more per bottle than her monthly rent. She'd been doing fine, moving smoothly between clusters of wealthy guests, refilling glasses, smiling politely when addressed, fading into the background when ignored, until she wasn't. She'd been approaching a group of men in expensive suits, speaking in Korean, their rapid conversation too fast for her limited understanding of the language, though she'd picked up some phrases from living in Koreatown. She was focused on balancing her tray, on not spilling, on doing her job perfectly. She didn't see the woman in the flowing gown step backward into her path. The collision was inevitable. The tray tipped. 6 glasses of red wine launched through the air in what felt like slow motion, and every single drop landed on one man. The man turned, and Elena's stomach dropped to her feet. She recognized him from the event program. Min-ho Kang, heir to Kang Industries, one of South Korea's top 10 conglomerates. 32 years old, featured in Forbes Asia, photographed at fashion weeks in Paris and Milan. His family's company had holdings in everything from semiconductors to luxury hotels. The wine had hit him perfectly, across his chest, down his shirt, even a few drops on his face. His white dress shirt was ruined. His black suit jacket was soaked, and he was staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. "I'm so sorry," Elena gasped, immediately setting down the tray and grabbing cocktail napkins from a nearby table. "I'm so sorry, let me—" She reached toward him to try to blot the wine, but one of the other Korean men in his group stepped between them. "Don't touch him," the man snapped in English. "Do you have any idea who this is?" "I said I'm sorry," Elena repeated, her face burning. "Someone stepped into my path. It was an accident." "An accident?" A woman in the group laughed, cold, cruel. "An accident that just cost you your job and probably a lawsuit." Elena felt panic rising in her throat. A lawsuit? Could they actually sue her? She had nothing, less than nothing. She had student loan debt from the 2 years of community college she'd completed, before having to drop out to work full-time. Min-ho still hadn't spoken. He was watching her with those unreadable dark eyes, his expression perfectly calm despite being drenched in wine. "Sir, I'm so sorry." Elena tried again, this time directing her words to him rather than his entourage. "Please, let me pay for the dry cleaning, or the replacement. How?" the cruel woman interrupted. "You're a maid. That shirt costs more than you make in a year." Elena's hands were shaking. The entire ballroom was still watching. She could feel her supervisor approaching, could sense the end of her job coming at her like a freight train. "Everyone makes mistakes," a voice said. It took Elena a moment to realize the words had come from Min-ho. He'd spoken in English, his accent slight but noticeable, his voice lower and calmer than she'd expected. "Minho, she ruined your Brunello Cucinelli shirt," one of his companions protested, "and embarrassed you in front of everyone here." "Did she?" Minho looked around the ballroom at all the staring faces. Then he looked back at Elena. "What's your name?" "Elena," she managed. "Elena Reyes." "Elena." He said it carefully, as if testing the syllables. "Did you spill wine on me on purpose?" "No, of course not. Someone stepped backward into my path and I lost my balance." "Then it was an accident," Minho said simply. He pulled off his wine-soaked jacket and handed it to one of his companions. "I'm going to change. When I come back, I expect everyone to have moved on to more interesting topics of conversation." He walked away toward the hotel's interior, leaving Elena standing in the middle of the ballroom with her mouth open. "You got lucky," the woman who'd called her a maid said, venom in her voice. "Minho is too polite to make a scene, but don't think this is over." Elena's supervisor appeared at her elbow, gripping her arm tightly enough to hurt. "Break room, now." In the service hallway away from the guests, Elena's supervisor, a woman named Patricia, who'd always treated her like she was barely competent, let her have it. "Do you understand what you just did? That was Minho Kang. His family donates hundreds of thousands to this charity. They're one of Prestige's biggest clients, and you threw wine all over him." "It was an accident," Elena said, fighting back tears. "Someone stepped backward. I don't care if God himself shoved you. You're responsible for your tray, that's the job." Patricia crossed her arms. "You're fired, obviously. Pack up your things." "Please," Elena said, hating the desperation in her voice. "I need this job. I'll work for free tonight to make up for it. "You're fired," Patricia repeated. "And you're lucky I'm not billing you for the replacement cost of that shirt. Get your stuff and get out." 30 minutes later, Elena stood outside the Beverly Hills Hotel in her server's uniform, her purse clutched to her chest, trying not to cry. She'd been fired before, restaurants closed, businesses downsized, but never like this, never with an audience, never with such public humiliation. Her phone buzzed, a text from one of her roommates. "Can you cover my part of utilities this month? I'm short." Elena stared at the message. She'd just lost her job. She had maybe $200 in her bank account. She had no idea how she was going to make rent, let alone cover someone else's utilities. She was so focused on her phone that she didn't notice the town car pulling up to the curb beside her until the back door opened. "Elena Reyes?" She looked up to find a man in a driver's uniform watching her expectantly. "I'm sorry, I think you have the wrong person," Elena said. "You're Elena Reyes, the server who had an incident with Mr. Kang?" Elena's stomach clenched. "Yes. Why?" "Mr. Kang would like to speak with you. Please get in." Every instinct Elena had screamed that this was a bad idea. You didn't get into cars with strange drivers just because they knew your name. You didn't go with people who worked for powerful men you'd just humiliated. But she also didn't have anything left to lose. She got in the car. The driver took her to a different entrance of the hotel, one she hadn't known existed, a private entrance that led to the penthouse suites. He escorted her to an elevator that required a key card, then rode up with her in silence. The elevator opened directly into a suite that was bigger than any apartment Elena had ever seen. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Los Angeles, the city lights spread out like fallen stars. The furniture was minimalist but clearly expensive. Everything was cream and gold and perfect. Minho stood by the windows, now wearing a fresh white shirt, identical to the one she'd ruined, and black slacks. He'd removed his tie. He looked younger without the formal attire, though no less intimidating. "Thank you for coming," he said, as if she'd had a choice. "Would you like something to drink?" "I'd like to know why I'm here," Elena said, trying to sound braver than she felt. Minho gestured to a cream-colored sofa. "Please sit." Elena remained standing. "Did you bring me here to sue me? Because I'll sign whatever papers you want, but I should tell you that I have no money." "Nothing worth taking. I'm not going to sue you, Minho said. He moved away from the window, closer to her, and Elena forced herself not to step back. I want to offer you a job. Of all the things Elena had expected him to say, that wasn't even on the list. A job? She repeated stupidly. My personal assistant quit last week. She's getting married and moving back to Seoul. I need someone to replace her. Someone organized, discreet, and capable of handling high-pressure situations without falling apart. You just met me when I dumped wine all over you, Elena pointed out. Why would you think I'm capable of anything? Because of how you handled it, Minho said. You apologized immediately. You took responsibility. You didn't cry or run away or try to blame someone else. You stayed calm in front of 200 people who were watching you fail. That takes strength. Elena shook her head. I appreciate the offer, but I don't know anything about being a personal assistant to someone like you. I don't know your world. I'll teach you, Minho said simply. The salary is $85,000 per year, plus housing. Elena's brain stuttered on that number. $85,000. That was more than triple what she'd been making. And housing? Like included? Why? She asked. This doesn't make sense. You could hire anyone. I could hire someone with the right credentials, Minho corrected. Someone from the right schools with the right connections. But I'm tired of people who think they're entitled to positions because of their background. You work hard. You show up. You don't give up even when things go wrong. That matters more to me than a degree. Elena studied his face, trying to find the catch. What's the housing situation? I own a building in Koreatown. Top floor, 2-bedroom apartment. You'd live there. And the job. What would I actually be doing? Managing my schedule, handling correspondence, organizing events, traveling with me when necessary, standard personal assistant duties. Traveling? I split my time between Los Angeles, New York, and Seoul. You'd need to be willing to travel. Elena's mind was racing. This was insane. You didn't spill wine on someone and then get offered a dream job. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. I need to think about it, she said. Of course. Minho pulled a business card from his pocket, heavy cream cardstock with minimalist printing. My personal number. Call me by tomorrow morning with your decision. The driver took her home, to her cramped studio with its broken air conditioning and thin walls. Her roommates were already asleep. Elena sat on her narrow bed and stared at the business card until the gold lettering blurred. Her phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Don't bother using prestige events as a reference. I've made sure everyone in the industry knows what you did. Elena felt something harden in her chest. She'd been working herself to exhaustion for years, trying to do everything right, trying to be invisible and perfect and unthreatening. And the moment she made one mistake, one accident, she'd been destroyed. She looked at Minho's business card again. Maybe it was time to stop being invisible. She picked up her phone and typed, I accept. When do I start? The response came within seconds. Monday, 8 a.m., my office. Kang Tower downtown. Don't be late. Elena lay back on her bed, staring at the water-stained ceiling, and wondered if she'd just made the best or worst decision of her life. 3 days later, Elena stood in the lobby of Kang Tower, a gleaming glass structure in downtown LA that housed Kang Industries' North American headquarters. She wore the only professional outfit she owned, a black pencil skirt she'd bought from a thrift store, and a white blouse she'd borrowed from her roommate. Her shoes were old, but polished. Her hair was pulled back in a neat bun. Security directed her to the executive floor. The elevator was so smooth she could barely feel it moving. When the doors opened, she found herself in a reception area that looked like something from a magazine. Marble floors, modern art, orchids in crystal vases. Elena Reyes, a young woman with perfect makeup and an expensive-looking dress, approached her. I'm Jennifer, front desk. Mr. Kang is expecting you. Follow me. Jennifer led Elena through a maze of hallways, past conference rooms and offices where people in expensive suits moved with purpose. Everyone looked polished, professional, like they belonged. Elena had never felt more out of place in her life. Jennifer stopped at a door at the end of the hall, solid wood with a brass nameplate that read, Min-Ho Kang, CEO, North American Operations. He's in a meeting but should be done in a few minutes, Jennifer said. You can wait in here. She opened the door to reveal an office that was somehow both massive and minimalist. One wall was entirely windows, offering a view of downtown Los Angeles that must have cost millions. The desk was sleek black glass. The furniture was modern and expensive. Everything was perfectly organized. A door on the far side of the office opened, and Min-Ho emerged, followed by 3 men in suits carrying tablets and folders. He was in his full business mode, sharp suit, perfect tie, the same unreadable expression he'd worn at the gala. We'll finalize the numbers by Wednesday, Min-Ho was saying in Korean. Then he noticed Elena and switched to English. Gentlemen, we're done for now. The men filed out and suddenly Elena was alone with him in the vast office. You're early, Min-Ho observed. That's good. I didn't want to be late, Elena said. Sit. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. We need to discuss expectations and boundaries. For the next hour, Min-Ho outlined her responsibilities, managing his calendar, screening calls and emails, preparing briefing documents for meetings, coordinating with his team in Seoul, booking travel, running interference when needed. The hours will be long, he warned. I work 12 to 14 hours most days. I'll need you available whenever I'm working. I can do that, Elena said. There will be social events, dinners, galas, business functions. You'll need to attend many of them to help coordinate. What should I wear? I don't exactly have a wardrobe for that kind of thing. Min-Ho pulled out his phone and typed something. I've just sent you a link to a personal shopper at Nordstrom. She's expecting your call. Tell her what you need for work events. The company will cover the cost. Elena blinked. You're buying me clothes? I'm providing you with the appropriate tools to do your job, Min-Ho corrected. The same way we provide computers and phones. You'll also need to move into the apartment this week. I'll have my real estate manager contact you with the details. Everything was happening so fast. 5 days ago, she'd been an invisible server. Now she was sitting in a corner office being offered a wardrobe budget and a free apartment. Why are you really doing this? Elena asked. And don't say it's because of how I handled spilling wine. There's something else. Min-Ho was quiet for a moment and Elena saw something shift in his expression, the first real emotion she'd seen from him. My father built Kang Industries from nothing, he said finally. He started as a factory worker and became one of the richest men in Korea. But along the way, he forgot where he came from. He forgot what it's like to work hard for every dollar, to choose between paying rent and eating, to be invisible to people who have power. He looked at Elena directly. I grew up surrounded by people who had everything handed to them, people who got their positions because of their last name or their connections. And most of them are useless. They don't understand hard work because they've never had to do it. When I saw you at that gala, taking responsibility, staying calm under pressure, not making excuses, I saw someone who actually deserves a chance, someone who would value an opportunity instead of just expecting it. Elena felt something tighten in her chest. That's a lot of pressure to put on someone you just met. Can you handle it? Elena thought about her cramped studio apartment, her mounting debt, Patricia's text telling her she'd been blacklisted in the catering industry. She thought about all the times she'd been invisible, overlooked, dismissed. Yes, she said. I can handle it. Good. Min-Ho stood, signaling the end of the meeting. Your first task is to clear my schedule for tomorrow afternoon. I have a site visit to the new hotel property in Palm Springs. You'll be accompanying me. Tomorrow? Problem? No, Elena said quickly. No problem. As she left the office, her mind spinning with everything that had just happened, she didn't notice Jennifer at the front desk watching her with barely concealed disdain. She also didn't see the woman from the gala, the one who'd called her a maid, stepping out of the elevator and heading straight for Min-Ho's office. But she would soon learn that accepting Min-Ho's offer had done more than just change her job. It had put her directly in the crosshairs of people who believed someone like her had no business in their world, and they would do anything to prove it. The apartment Minho had arranged for her was in a building so nice that Elena had to show her ID 3 times before the doorman believed she actually lived there. The elevator required a key fob. Her floor, the top floor, had only 2 units. When she opened the door to her apartment, Elena actually gasped. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Koreatown, offering views of the city she'd lived in for years, but had never really seen from above. The living room was furnished with a cream-colored sofa, a coffee table made of pale wood and glass, and modern art on the walls. The kitchen had marble countertops and appliances that looked like they'd never been used. There were 2 bedrooms, both bigger than the entire studio she'd been sharing. A note sat on the kitchen counter in Minho's precise handwriting. Wi-Fi password is on the router. Lease is in your name. Stay as long as you work for me. MK. Elena walked through the space, touching things gently, afraid to disturb the perfection. This wasn't just an apartment. This was proof that her life had actually changed. Her phone rang. Her mother. "Mija, I've been calling you for 2 days," her mother said in Spanish. "Where have you been?" "Mama, I have news," Elena said, switching to Spanish. "I got a new job." "Praise God, where?" "It's complicated. I'm working as a personal assistant." "To who?" "A Korean businessman. It pays really well, Mama. Enough that I can start sending money home again." Her mother was quiet for a moment. Elena's parents lived in Fresno, where her father worked in agriculture and her mother cleaned houses. Elena had 3 younger siblings, all still in school. Sending money home had been impossible when she was working at Prestige, but with this salary. "Is it safe?" her mother asked finally. "This businessman, he's not expecting anything inappropriate?" "No, Mama, it's professional, I promise." "Okay, but call me if anything feels wrong. Family first, always." "Always," Elena agreed. That night, Elena couldn't sleep in the massive bed with its expensive sheets. She kept getting up to look out the windows, to walk through the apartment to verify that this was real. At 2 a.m., her phone buzzed with an email from Minho. "Briefing materials for tomorrow's site visit. Read these before we leave. Car picks you up at 9 a.m. The attachment was 60 pages of financial projections, architectural plans, and background on the Palm Springs hotel development. Elena made coffee in her new kitchen and started reading. The next morning, the car that picked her up was a black Mercedes with a driver named Thomas, who treated her with more respect than her supervisor at Prestige ever had. They drove to Kang Tower, where Minho was waiting outside, looking perfect in a charcoal suit despite the early hour. "Did you read the briefing materials?" he asked as soon as she got in the car. "All 60 pages, Elena confirmed. "Thoughts?" Elena hesitated. Was he actually asking for her opinion? The projected occupancy rates seem optimistic given the competition in Palm Springs. The Ritz-Carlton just opened a new property there, and Marriott is renovating the old Desert Princess. We're positioning as luxury, but the pricing analysis seems to assume we'll capture market share that might not be realistic. Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You're right. Our analysts have been too optimistic." "I've been saying that for weeks, but my team keeps insisting the numbers work." "They might work," Elena said, "but they require everything going perfectly. No construction delays, no economic downturn, no new competitors. That's a lot of assumptions." "What would you recommend?" Elena almost laughed. She'd been a server 4 days ago. What did she know about hotel development? But Minho was watching her expectantly, actually waiting for her answer. "I'd run scenarios with more conservative occupancy rates," she said. "See if the project still makes financial sense with a slower ramp-up period. And I'd budget for contingencies, because something always goes wrong." Minho pulled out his phone and typed something. "I'm sending that to my CFO. He's going to have my analysts run new models." "You're actually listening to me?" Elena said, surprised. "Why wouldn't I? You're right." The drive to Palm Springs took 2 hours. Minho spent most of it on phone calls, some in English, some in Korean. Elena tried not to stare at the landscape flying past, tried to look like she rode in Mercedes to luxury hotel developments all the time. The hotel site was a sprawling property in the foothills, with views of the mountains and the desert. The bones of the building were already up, a modern structure with lots of glass and clean lines. Minho's development team met them on site, 5 people in expensive casual wear, all carrying tablets and looking extremely stressed to have the CEO visiting. "Walk me through the timeline," Minho said, and they launched into a detailed presentation about construction phases, permit issues, and supplier delays. Elena stayed 2 steps behind Minho, taking notes on her phone, observing how he interacted with his team. He was direct but not unkind, asking pointed questions that revealed problems they'd been trying to gloss over. "The marble supplier fell through," Minho said, his voice dangerously calm. "When were you planning to tell me?" "We're sourcing alternatives," the project manager stammered. "It won't delay the timeline." "It will absolutely delay the timeline," Minho interrupted. "Marble selection affects everything. Bathrooms, lobbies, restaurants. Elena, make a note. We need a meeting with the design team and new supplier options by Friday." Elena typed quickly, aware that everyone was now looking at her, the woman they clearly hadn't expected to see in this meeting. "Who are you?" one of the team members asked rudely. "My new assistant," Minho said. "Elena Reyes. You'll be working with her going forward on all project communications." The tour continued, with Minho pointing out issues and making decisions. Elena watched him work, impressed by how he saw problems others missed, how he balanced vision with practicality. It wasn't until they were driving back, the desert sunset painting everything gold and pink, that Minho finally relaxed slightly. "You did well today," he said. "I didn't do anything, I just took notes. You paid attention, you asked good questions during the structural walkthrough, and you didn't act intimidated by people who were trying to intimidate you." "The project manager clearly hated me," Elena said. "He hates anyone he can't dismiss," Minho said. "He's used to people caring about his opinion. You didn't, so he couldn't control you." Elena thought about that. She'd spent years making herself small, trying not to offend anyone, apologizing for existing. And today she'd just done her job. Taken notes, asked questions, not apologized for anything. It felt strange, also kind of powerful. "Can I ask you something?" Elena said. "Yes." "The woman at the gala, the one who called me a maid, who is she?" Minho's jaw tightened slightly. "Park Ji-won. She's the daughter of one of my father's business partners. She's been persistent in her belief that we should be together." "Oh." Elena processed that. Are you together?" "No. I've made that clear many times. But she doesn't take rejection well." They drove in silence for a while. Then Minho said, "Ji-won is going to make your life difficult. She has friends in my company, people who listen to her. Be prepared for that. What should I do if she causes problems? Document everything and tell me. I don't tolerate harassment of my employees." Elena nodded, filing that away. Back in Los Angeles, Minho's driver dropped Elena at her apartment first. As she was getting out, Minho said, "Elena." She turned back. "You're good at this," he said. "Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." Elena went to bed that night thinking about those words, about how no one in her life had ever told her she was good at something that mattered, about how strange it was to be seen instead of invisible. The next few weeks blurred together. Elena learned Minho's schedule, his preferences, his work style. She learned which calls to put through immediately and which to handle herself. She learned to read his micro-expressions, the slight tightening around his eyes that meant he was annoyed, the way he tapped his fingers when he was thinking. She attended business dinners at restaurants where the tasting menu cost $400 per person. She sat in on meetings where decisions were made that affected thousands of jobs. She booked flights to New York and Seoul, coordinated with executives across time zones, and learned more about business in 3 weeks than she'd learned in 2 years of college. And slowly, carefully, she started to feel like maybe she belonged here. Until the afternoon Ji-won showed up at the office. Elena was at her desk, a workstation outside Minho's office, when Ji-won swept in wearing head-to-toe Chanel and an expression of pure disdain. "I need to see Minho," Ji-won announced. "He's in a meeting," Elena said politely. "I can schedule you for later this week." "I don't schedule appointments," Ji-won interrupted. "I walk in. That's how this works." "Not anymore," Elena said, keeping her voice even. "Mr. Kang has asked me to manage his calendar. Everyone schedules." Ji-won leaned over Elena's desk, her voice dropping to something dangerous. "Listen to me very carefully, maid. You might have fooled Minho with your pathetic hard luck story, but I see exactly what you're doing. You're trying to sleep your way into money. It won't work." "I'm doing my job," Elena said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "If you'd like to schedule a meeting with Mr. Kang, I'm happy to find a time that works." "You don't belong here," Ji-won hissed. "You'll never belong here. People like you don't just become people like us." "Minho is being naive, giving you opportunities you're not qualified for. Eventually, he'll realize his mistake, and when he does, you'll be right back where you started, serving people like me." Before Elena could respond, Minho's office door opened. "Ji-won," Minho said, his voice cold. "If you ever speak to my assistant that way again, I'll have security permanently ban you from this building. Elena, call security." "That's not necessary," Elena said quickly. "Ms. Park was just leaving." Ji-won straightened, her face flushing with anger and embarrassment. "Minho, I came to—" "Leave," Minho said. "Now." After Ji-won had gone, Minho looked at Elena. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," Elena lied. "What did she say to you before I came out?" Elena hesitated. Ji-won's words had cut deeper than she wanted to admit because part of her worried they were true. She was a college dropout from Fresno. She had no credentials, no connections, no right to be here, except that Minho had decided to give her a chance. What if he regretted it? "She said I don't belong here," Elena admitted finally. Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Come with me." He led her into his office and closed the door. They stood by the windows overlooking the city. "My father started with nothing," Minho said. "Less than nothing, debt and a borrowed suit for his first job interview. Every person in his life told him he didn't belong in business, that people from his background didn't become CEOs. He believed them for a long time. It almost destroyed him." He turned to look at Elena directly. "You know what finally changed things for him? He stopped caring about who said he belonged and started proving he deserved to be there. Not by being perfect, by being persistent, by showing up, by working harder than everyone who had been handed their position." "Is this a pep talk?" Elena asked. "This is a reality check," Minho said. "Ji-won is right about one thing. You're going to face people who think you don't belong, every day, for as long as you're in this position. You can let them win by leaving, or you can prove them wrong by staying. Your choice." Elena looked out at the city, at the world that had never had space for someone like her until Minho had decided to make space. "I'm staying," she said. "Good," Minho replied. "Because I need you." Something about the way he said it, the quiet sincerity, made Elena's heart do a strange little flip. She ignored it. Minho was her boss. He'd given her an opportunity, not a romance. Getting confused about that would be the fastest way to lose everything she'd gained. But over the following weeks, ignoring it became harder. Because Minho wasn't just her boss. He was someone who asked her opinion and actually listened. Someone who defended her when she was attacked. Someone who saw her, really saw her, in a way no one ever had before. And slowly, dangerously, Elena started to realize she was falling for the man who had turned her destiny upside down when she'd spilled wine all over his expensive shirt. The thing about working 12-hour days with someone was that you started to see past the professional facade. Elena learned that Minho drank his coffee black, but added honey to tea. That he had a scar on his left hand from a childhood accident he never talked about. That he spoke more in Korean when he was stressed, as if thinking in his first language made complex problems easier to solve. She learned that he was kind to the cleaning staff, remembered people's names, and sent flowers when someone's family member passed away. That he could be ruthless in business negotiations, but fair. That he held himself to standards even higher than the ones he set for his employees. She learned that he sometimes stood at his office windows late at night, looking out at Los Angeles like he was searching for something he couldn't find. And Minho, whether he meant to or not, was learning her too. He started keeping trail mix at his desk because he noticed she sometimes skipped lunch. He scheduled meetings around her online class schedule when she decided to re-enroll in college part-time. He defended her in front of executives who questioned why someone with her background was in strategic meetings. "She's here because she's smart and hard-working," Minho had said in one particularly tense meeting, his voice cutting through someone's condescending question about Elena's credentials. Which are the only qualifications that matter. 3 months into her job, Minho had to travel to Seoul for a board meeting. He asked Elena to join him. "It's a week-long trip," he said. "You don't have to come if you're not comfortable with international travel." "I've never been out of the country," Elena admitted. "I don't even have a passport." Minho pulled out his phone. "I'll have my immigration attorney expedite one." "You'll need it anyway. We travel frequently." The trip to Seoul was Elena's first time on an airplane, though she tried not to let Minho know that. They flew business class, seats that turned into beds, meals served on real plates, flight attendants who treated her like she mattered. Elena pressed her face to the window during takeoff, watching Los Angeles fall away beneath them, and felt like she was leaving behind more than just a city. Minho worked through most of the flight, but during a quiet stretch over the Pacific, he closed his laptop and looked at her. "Are you nervous about Seoul?" "Should I be?" "My family will be at the board meeting. They'll want to meet you." "Why? I'm just your assistant." "You're the first assistant I've kept for more than 2 months, Minho said. "And you're the first person I've brought to Korea who isn't Korean. That will interest them." "Interest them how?" Minho was quiet for a moment. "My father will respect you because you work hard. My mother will be curious about you because you're different. And my younger sister will probably love you because she hates everyone my parents approve of." "That's not ominous at all," Elena said dryly. Minho smiled, one of his rare, real smiles that transformed his usually serious face. "You'll be fine. You handle difficult people better than anyone I've met." Seoul was overwhelming, the sheer scale of it, the skyscrapers, the crowds, the energy. Minho's driver picked them up from Incheon Airport in a black Genesis sedan, and they drove into the city as night fell. "That's Kang Tower," Minho said, pointing to a gleaming building lit up against the night sky. "Our headquarters." It made the LA office look tiny. Their hotel was in Gangnam, a district Elena had only heard about from K-pop songs. The hotel was a Kang property, ultra-luxury, with a level of service that made Elena uncomfortable. People bowing, calling her Mr. Kang's guest, treating her like she was important by association. "Your room is next to mine," Minho said as they entered the executive floor. "If you need anything, just call." Elena's room had a view of the Han River and the En Seoul Tower lit up on its mountain. The bed was enormous. The bathroom had a soaking tub and a shower with about 17 different settings. She took a photo and sent it to her mother. "This is my hotel room in Seoul." Her mother's response came immediately. "Mia, are you sure this is all professional?" "Yes, Mama, I promise." But lying alone in that enormous bed, staring out at a city she'd never imagined visiting, Elena had to admit her mother's concern wasn't completely unfounded. She was developing feelings for Minho, real feelings. The kind that made her heart race when he stood close to her, made her notice the way his shirt fit across his shoulders, made her replay conversations in her head looking for hidden meanings that probably weren't there. It was stupid. It was dangerous. It was going to ruin everything if she didn't get it under control. The next morning, Elena met Minho in the hotel lobby at 7 a.m. He was in full Korean business mode, perfectly tailored suit, slicked back hair, an expression that could cut glass. "Ready?" he asked. "As I'll ever be." Kang Tower Seoul was intimidating in a way the LA office wasn't. Everyone they passed bowed to Minho. Every conversation stopped when he entered. The energy was different, more formal, more hierarchical. Minho's assistant in Seoul, a woman named Soo Jin who looked like she'd stepped out of Vogue Korea, greeted them with a perfect bow. "Mr. Kang, your family is waiting in the executive conference room," she said in Korean, then in English for Elena's benefit. "The board meeting begins in 1 hour." Minho nodded. "Elena, come with me." The executive conference room was massive, with a view of Seoul spread out below like Minho's future to command. 3 people were already there. Minho's father, Chairman Kang, was in his late 60s, silver-haired, with the kind of presence that made rooms feel smaller. He looked at Elena with sharp, assessing eyes. Minho's mother was elegant in the way only Korean women of a certain class could be, perfectly styled, wearing Hermes, every movement deliberate. And Minho's sister, Hana, looked like trouble. She was 26, dressed in expensive streetwear that somehow looked couture, and she was studying Elena with open curiosity. Minho spoke to his family in Korean, too fast for Elena to follow. Then he switched to English. "Elena Reyes, my assistant from Los Angeles. Elena, my parents and my sister." Chairman Kang spoke first, in heavily accented but clear English. "My son says you've been very helpful to his work." "I try to be," Elena said, keeping her voice steady. "You're not Korean," Mrs. Kang observed. Not unkindly, just stating fact. "No, ma'am, I'm Mexican-American from California." "And you speak Korean?" Chairman Kang asked. "Not well. I'm learning." "Good," he said approvingly. Language shows respect. Hana had been quiet, but now she spoke in perfect American accented English. "Appa never brings anyone to Seoul. You must be special." "Hana," Minho said warningly. "What?" "I'm just being friendly." Hana grinned at Elena. "Ignore them. They're trying to figure out if you're sleeping with my brother." "Hana," Mrs. Kang's voice was sharp. "I'm not," Elena said quickly, her face burning. "It's a professional relationship." "That's what they all say," Hana said cheerfully. Then to Minho in Korean, "I like her, she doesn't cry when I'm rude." The board meeting was 3 hours of Korean spoken too fast for Elena to follow, with only occasional translations from Minho. She sat in a chair against the wall, taking notes on things she only partially understood, aware that everyone in the room was occasionally glancing at her. After the meeting, Hana caught up with Elena in the hallway. "So," Hana said, "are you really not sleeping with my brother?" "Really not," Elena confirmed. "Do you want to be?" Elena's face went hot. "That's not, I'm his employee. It would be inappropriate." "That's not a no," Hana observed. "Come on, let's get coffee. I want to know everything about you." Over coffee at a trendy cafe in Gangnam, Hana asked 1,000 questions about Elena's family, her background, how she'd ended up working for Minho. "Wait," Hana said when Elena got to the wine spilling incident. "You dumped wine all over him at a gala and he hired you. That's the most romantic thing I've ever heard." "It's not romantic," Elena protested. "He saw potential in me and gave me a chance." "He saw something," Hana agreed. "But I'm not sure it's just potential. My brother doesn't do anything without multiple reasons. He gave you a job, yes, but he also gave you an apartment, brought you to Seoul, defends you to the board. That's not normal assistant treatment." "He's just being fair," Elena said. Hana laughed. "My brother has never been just fair in his life. Everything he does is calculated. So either he's investing in you as an asset or—" She let the sentence hang. "Or what?" "Or he's falling for you and doesn't realize it yet," Hana said. which would be hilarious because Min Hoapa thinks he's above feelings. Elena's heart was doing that dangerous flip thing again. Even if that were true, which it's not, I'm his employee. Nothing could happen. Not while you're his employee, Hana agreed. But people quit jobs all the time. I'm not quitting. I've worked hard for this position. I like you, Hana declared. You're not going to make it easy for him. That's good. He needs someone who won't just fold when he uses his CEO voice. The rest of the week in Seoul passed in a blur. More meetings, dinners with business partners, a visit to one of Kang Industries' manufacturing facilities outside the city. Elena was exhausted but exhilarated, learning more about Minho's world with every passing day. On their last night in Seoul, Minho invited her to dinner, just the two of them, at a traditional Korean restaurant in Bukchon Hanok Village. This isn't a business dinner, Minho said as they sat on cushions at a low table. I wanted to thank you for handling this week so well. My family can be overwhelming. Your sister is great, Elena said. My sister is chaos, Minho corrected. But she liked you. That's rare. They ordered food, a spread of banchan and bulgogi and bibimbap. The restaurant was quiet, intimate, with paper lanterns casting soft light. Can I ask you something? Elena said. Always. Why did you really hire me? And don't say it's because I handled spilling wine well. That can't be the whole reason. Minho was quiet for a long moment, considering his answer. When I saw you at that gala, everyone was watching you fail. Everyone was waiting to see you break, and you didn't. You apologized, took responsibility, and stayed standing. Do you know how rare that is? Lots of people apologize. Not people under pressure. Most people either cry, make excuses, or lash out. You did none of those things. Minho poured them both tea. But there was something else. When Jiwon called you a maid, dismissed you as if your work didn't matter, as if you didn't matter, I saw your face, and I recognized that look. What look? The look of someone who's been invisible their whole life suddenly realizing they're tired of it. Minho met her eyes. I wanted to give you the chance to be seen, the same chance someone gave my father once. Elena felt something shift in her chest. Minho, I also need to tell you something, Minho interrupted. When we get back to LA, there's going to be a board meeting about the Palm Springs Hotel project. Some board members want to shut it down because of the cost overruns. I'm going to need you there. Why? I'm just an assistant. Because your instincts were right about the occupancy projections, Minho said. We ran conservative models like you suggested, and they show the project can still be profitable with slower ramp-up. I want you to present those findings. Elena's stomach dropped. To the board? Minho, I can't. You can, he said. You understand the project better than half the executives in that room, and you're not going to let them intimidate you. I don't know anything about presenting to boards. I'll teach you, Minho said, the same way I've taught you everything else. Flying back to Los Angeles, Elena couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the board meeting, about standing in front of powerful executives and trying to convince them she knew what she was talking about. She also kept thinking about sitting across from Minho in that restaurant, the way he'd looked at her when he talked about giving her a chance to be seen. Hana's words echoed in her head. Or he's falling for you and doesn't realize it yet. No. That was wishful thinking. Minho was her boss, her mentor, the person who'd changed her life. Whatever she felt for him had to stay locked down, even if it was getting harder every day. The board meeting was scheduled for the following Thursday. Minho spent hours preparing Elena, running through the presentation, anticipating questions, teaching her how to project confidence even when she was terrified. They're going to test you, he warned. They'll ask questions designed to make you doubt yourself. Don't let them. What if I don't know the answer? Then you say, I don't have that information in front of me, but I'll get it to you by tomorrow. Never lie, never guess, and never apologize for not being omniscient. The morning of the meeting, Elena wore one of the new suits the personal shopper had helped her select. Navy blue, perfectly tailored, expensive enough to signal she belonged in the room, but not so expensive that it looked like she was trying too hard. Minho met her outside the conference room. "You're going to be great. I'm going to throw up." "Please don't, it's a new carpet." He was trying to make her laugh, to ease the tension. It almost worked. The boardroom was full of people who looked like they'd been born in expensive suits. Elena recognized some of them from photos: executives, investors, Minho's father in the seat at the head of the table, and Ji-won, sitting next to an older man who was clearly her father, Park Enterprises CEO, and one of Kang Industries' major partners. Of course she was there. "Gentlemen, Ms. Park," Minho began, his voice carrying the authority that came so naturally to him. "Thank you for making time for this meeting. As you know, we're here to discuss the Palm Springs Hotel project and its current financial challenges. Before we make any decisions, I'd like my assistant, Elena Reyes, to present some updated financial models." Elena stood, her knees threatening to buckle. But she thought about Minho's words. "They're going to test you. Don't let them." She pulled up the presentation on the screen and began. She walked them through the original projections, then the reality of construction delays and market changes. She showed them the conservative occupancy models, the extended ramp-up period, the revised profit timeline. "The project is still viable," Elena concluded. "It just requires patience and realistic expectations. If we shut it down now, we lose the $50 million already invested. If we proceed with these adjusted parameters, we reach profitability in year 4 instead of year 2. "Who are you to be giving financial advice?" Park's CFO challenged. "What are your credentials?" "I don't have credentials," Elena said evenly. "What I have is common sense. The original models assumed everything would go perfectly. Things never go perfectly. These models account for reality." "And if you're wrong?" another board member asked. "Then I'm wrong, and we shut the project down when we hit the revised triggers I've built into the plan," Elena said. "But if the optimistic models were wrong, which they were, we should at least test if realistic models work before we give up." There was silence. Then Chairman Kang spoke. "How long have you worked for my son?" 3 months, sir." "And before that?" "I was a server at catering events." Murmurs went through the room. Ji-won smirked. "So you went from serving drinks to analyzing hotel developments in 3 months?" Chairman Kang's tone was unreadable. "Yes, sir, Mr. Kang has been an excellent teacher." "I see." Chairman Kang looked at his son. "Minho, can you explain why we're taking financial advice from someone with no background in finance?" "Because she's right," Minho said simply. "Her analysis is sound. Our CFO has verified all the numbers. The only question is whether we're willing to be patient. Or," Ji-won interjected, "whether we're going to let personal feelings cloud business judgment." The implication was clear. Everyone in the room understood what she was suggesting. Minho's expression turned to ice. "What are you implying, Ms. Park?" "I'm implying that perhaps your assistant's influence isn't entirely professional," Ji-won said sweetly. "It's suspicious, don't you think? A server becomes a trusted advisor in 3 months. What's suspicious?" Chairman Kang said, his voice cutting through the tension, "is that no one on this board caught the flaws in the original projections that a server found immediately." He looked directly at his CFO. "Were you planning to tell me the optimistic models were flawed?" The CFO stammered something about ongoing analysis. "Ms. Reyes found the problem in one evening," Chairman Kang continued. "Then provided solutions. Whether she learned that from my son or figured it out herself, the result is the same. She saw what you missed. That's valuable, regardless of credentials." He looked at Minho. "We'll proceed with the revised plan, but Ms. Reyes stays on the project oversight team. If she can catch problems this early, I want her watching everything else too." The meeting ended. Elena felt like she'd run a marathon. Outside the boardroom, Ji-won cornered her. "You think you've won something?" You haven't. Everyone in that room knows you're sleeping your way to influence. I'm not sleeping with anyone, Elena said tiredly. Not yet, Ji-won said. But you want to. I can see it in how you look at him. And when it doesn't work out, when Min-ho realizes you were just a charity case, you'll have nothing. No job, no credentials, no future. You'll go right back to serving drinks. Elena felt something harden in her chest. You know what the difference between us is, Ji-won. You've spent your whole life being given things because of your last name. I've had to earn everything. So when this does end, if it ends, I'll be fine. Because I know how to work. You don't know anything except how to be born rich. She walked away, her heart pounding before Ji-won could respond. Min-ho found her in his office 10 minutes later. You were incredible in there, he said. Your father promoted me, Elena said, still processing. I'm on the project oversight team. How is that even possible? Because you're good at this, Min-ho said. When are you going to accept that? Elena shook her head. Everyone thinks we're sleeping together. I know. That doesn't bother you? Should it? Min-ho studied her face. People always need explanations for success that don't fit their worldview. If you don't have the right credentials or background, they assume you must have slept your way there. It's easier for them than admitting they might have missed something. Ji-won is going to make my life hell. Probably, Min-ho agreed. But she's been making my life hell for years, and I've survived. You will too. He was standing close now. Close enough that Elena could smell his cologne, could see the exact color of his eyes, dark brown with flecks of gold. Min-ho, she said quietly. What are we doing? What do you mean? This, us, the way people talk, the way... She trailed off, not sure how to articulate the tension that had been building for months. Min-ho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was low, careful. I hired you because I saw potential. I kept you because you're exceptional at what you do. Everything else, he paused. Everything else is complicated. Complicated how? You work for me. That creates a power dynamic that would make anything else inappropriate. Elena's heart sank even as she knew he was right. So nothing can happen. Not while you work for me, Min-ho said. But Elena, his phone rang. He answered it in Korean, his expression tightening. When he hung up, he looked at Elena with something that might have been regret. I have to go. Emergency with the Seoul office. We'll talk later. He left and Elena stood alone in his office, trying to process what had just happened. Not while you work for me. Which meant he'd thought about it. Whatever this was between them, he'd thought about it. That should have made her happy. Instead, it just made everything more complicated. Because she couldn't quit. This job was the best thing that had ever happened to her. It was her chance to build something, to prove she was more than the circumstances she'd been born into. But staying meant keeping her feelings locked down. Meant pretending she didn't notice the way Min-ho's voice softened when he said her name. The way he stood a little too close. The way he looked at her sometimes like she was more than just his assistant. It meant choosing her career over her heart. Elena looked out the window at Los Angeles spread below and realized she'd never felt more trapped by opportunity. The thing about Los Angeles was that secrets didn't stay secret. Especially when people wanted those secrets exposed. 2 weeks after the board meeting, Elena arrived at work to find security waiting for her at the building entrance. Ms. Reyes, we need you to come with us, the head of security said. Elena's stomach dropped. What's wrong? There's been an allegation. We need to investigate. They took her to a small conference room where HR was waiting, a woman named Patricia Chen and 2 men Elena had never seen before. Ms. Reyes, Patricia began, her voice professionally neutral. We've received a complaint regarding your conduct with Mr. Kang. Elena felt the blood drain from her face. What kind of complaint? An anonymous employee has alleged that you've been engaging in inappropriate behavior, specifically using a romantic relationship with Mr. Kang to advance your career. Patricia slid a folder across the table, These are emails and meeting records that allegedly support that claim. Elena opened the folder with shaking hands. Inside were emails she'd sent to Minho, taken completely out of context. One where she'd said, "I can't wait to see you," was actually about a scheduled meeting. Another where she'd written, "Thank you for last night," was about a business dinner with clients. Separately, they looked innocent, but arranged together, with certain phrases highlighted, they looked like evidence of an affair. "This is ridiculous," Elena said. "These are work emails. Someone is deliberately misinterpreting. We also have testimony from several employees who've witnessed inappropriate closeness between you and Mr. Kang," Patricia interrupted. "Late-night meetings, private dinners, the trip to Seoul where you stayed in adjoining rooms. Those were all work-related," Elena protested. "Minho, Mr. Kang can confirm that. Actually," one of the men said, "company policy states that we can't involve Mr. Kang in this investigation because he's the subject of the complaint. There's a potential conflict of interest." Elena realized what was happening. Someone, probably Ji-won, had filed a complaint designed to separate her from Minho and destroy her credibility. Without Minho to defend her, it would be her word against whoever had filed the complaint. "What happens now?" Elena asked. "We're placing you on administrative leave while we investigate," Patricia said. "You'll need to surrender your building access card and work phone. You're not to contact Mr. Kang directly during the investigation period." "You're firing me." "We're investigating," Patricia corrected. "If the allegations prove unfounded, you'll be reinstated with full back pay. And if they don't, then you'll be terminated for violating company ethics policies." Elena wanted to argue, to fight, to defend herself, but she knew it wouldn't matter. The investigation was a formality. Someone powerful wanted her gone, and they'd found a way to make it happen that looked legitimate. She turned in her access card and phone, packed up her desk while security watched, and walked out of Kang Tower for what might be the last time. She was halfway home when she remembered. She couldn't call Minho to tell him what happened. She had no way to contact him that wasn't monitored by HR, and if she did contact him, it would only make the allegations look more credible. Back in her apartment, the apartment Minho had arranged that was probably going to be taken away when she was fired, Elena sat on her couch and tried not to cry. Her phone rang, an unknown number. "Hello? Elena, it's Hana, Minho's sister. I heard what happened. My brother is losing his mind trying to reach you, but HR has him blocked from your contact information. They think we're having an affair," Elena said flatly. "I know. Ji-won is behind it. She filed the complaint, though she got someone else to sign it so it would look anonymous." "How do you know?" "Because I have friends in HR who owe me favors. But Elena, this is bad. The investigation is designed to find you guilty regardless of evidence. Ji-won's father has influence with the board. They're going to recommend your termination." Elena closed her eyes. She'd known it was coming, but hearing it confirmed still felt like a punch to the gut. "What does Minho want me to do?" "Fight," Hana said immediately. "Don't let them win. He's working on something, but he needs time. Can you hold on for a few days?" "I don't have a choice." "Good. And Elena? My brother, he's not good at saying what he feels, but the way he's been since you were suspended, I've never seen him like this. Whatever you two have, it's real. Don't give up on it." The call ended. Elena sat in her apartment, surrounded by the life Minho had helped her build, and wondered if it was all about to disappear. 3 days of administrative leave felt like 3 years. Elena couldn't work, couldn't contact Minho, couldn't do anything except wait while HR built their case against her. On the 4th day, she got a call from Patricia Chen. "Ms. Reyes, we'd like you to come in for a final meeting regarding your employment status." This was it, the meeting where they'd fire her. Elena dressed carefully. One of her work suits, her hair pulled back, minimal makeup. If they were going to destroy her career, at least she'd look professional while it happened. But when she arrived at Kang Tower, security didn't stop her. They waved her through with apologetic looks. The conference room was full. HR, several board members, Chairman Kang, and Minho, standing by the window with an expression that could have melted steel. "Thank you for coming, Ms. Reyes," Chairman Kang said. "Please sit." Elena sat, her hands folded in her lap to hide their shaking. "We've completed our investigation," Patricia Chen began, "and we've found that the allegations were fabricated," Minho interrupted, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. "Tell her what we found." Patricia looked uncomfortable. The complaint was filed by an employee with a personal grudge. The evidence provided was deliberately taken out of context. Several witnesses came forward to testify that your interactions with Mr. Kang were entirely professional. "Who filed the complaint?" Elena asked, though she already knew. "Ms. Park Ji-won," Chairman Kang said, though she convinced a junior analyst to sign it on her behalf. "Both have been terminated from any positions within Kang Industries. Ms. Park is also banned from all company properties." Elena processed that. "You fired her?" "We fired everyone involved in a deliberate attempt to damage this company's integrity," Chairman Kang said. "Ms. Reyes, you have our apologies. This should never have happened." "You're reinstated effective immediately," Patricia added, "with a raise as compensation for the distress this investigation caused." "And with a promotion," Minho said. "You're now Director of Strategic Projects, reporting directly to me. With your own office, your own team, and final say on project analyses." Elena stared at him. "You're promoting me? After I was just investigated for allegedly sleeping with you?" "I'm promoting you because you earned it," Minho said. "The Palm Springs project is on track because of your analysis. The board wants you overseeing more projects. This investigation was a distraction from what matters: your work." "There will be talk," one of the board members said. "People will still speculate about your relationship with Mr. Kang." "Let them," Minho said coldly. "Ms. Reyes's credentials speak for themselves. Anyone who wants to question her competence can answer to me." The meeting ended. Elena was given new access cards, a new office 2 floors up, and an assistant of her own to manage. Everything had changed again. That evening, after everyone else had left, Minho came to her new office. It was smaller than his, but still impressive, with views of downtown and space for a real desk, a conference table, and bookshelves she'd need to fill. "You could have just defended me," Elena said. "You didn't have to promote me." "I promoted you because you're ready for it," Minho said. "The rest was incidental. Ji-won is going to be furious. Ji-won is no longer my concern." Minho moved closer, until he was standing directly in front of her desk. "Elena, there's something I need to say." Her heart started racing. "When HR blocked me from contacting you, when I thought I might lose you." He paused, as if choosing his words carefully. "I realized that somewhere along the way, this stopped being just professional for me." Elena could barely breathe. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that you're right. People talk. They're going to assume we're together regardless of whether we actually are. And I've spent the last week trying to figure out how I'm supposed to keep pretending I don't care about you more than I should." "Minho, let me finish." He took a breath. "You don't work directly for me anymore. You report to me, yes, but you're a director now. That changes the power dynamic. It's not equal, but it's different. So what are you saying?" "I'm saying that if you want, if you feel the same way, we could try, carefully, with boundaries. And full disclosure to HR so no one can say we're hiding anything." Elena stood up slowly. "You want to date me, officially?" "I want to try," Minho said. "If you want to." Elena thought about everything that had happened. The wine spill that started it all, the job offer, the months of working together, learning each other, building something she hadn't known she was capable of. She thought about Hana's words. "He's falling for you and doesn't realize it yet." Except he did realize it. And he was standing in her office, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen him, asking for a chance. "Yes," Elena said. "I want to try." Minho smiled, that rare, real smile that transformed his face. Then he did something she'd never expected. He kissed her. It was gentle, careful, like he was afraid she might disappear. His hand came up to cup her face, and Elena felt like every moment of the last few months had been leading to this. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Minho said, "I should probably take you to dinner first." "Probably," Elena agreed, her heart racing. But that was a pretty good start. 6 months later, Elena stood in the lobby of the completed Palm Springs Hotel during its grand opening gala. The property was stunning, all glass and clean lines, with desert landscapes integrated into the design. Minho found her standing by the windows, looking out at the mountains. "You did good work here," he said. "We did good work," Elena corrected. "Team effort." Their relationship had stayed quiet at first, disclosed to HR, known to close colleagues but not publicized. They'd been careful, professional, making sure no one could claim Elena's position was due to anything other than her competence. But over time, it had become harder to hide. The way they worked together, the way Minho's face softened when he looked at her, the way Elena had stopped caring what anyone else thought about where she came from. "I have something for you," Minho said. He handed her a small box. Inside was a necklace, simple, elegant, with a small pendant shaped like a wine glass. Elena laughed. "Really?" "To remember where we started," Minho said. "When you dumped wine all over my expensive shirt and changed everything." "I changed everything. You're the one who offered me a job." "Because you showed me something I'd forgotten," Minho said. "That credentials don't determine worth. That someone's background doesn't limit their potential. That sometimes the most important people show up in the most unexpected ways." Elena fastened the necklace around her neck. "You know people are going to see this and talk." "Let them talk," Minho said. He pulled her close, right there in the lobby where anyone could see. "I'm tired of hiding how I feel about you." Bold choice for someone who hates public displays. "You've made me bold," Minho said, "among other things." The gala was starting. Guests were arriving. Elena saw some of the board members, executives, investors, people who'd questioned her, doubted her, assumed she didn't belong. She wore her wine glass necklace and her director title in the confidence of someone who'd earned every opportunity she'd been given. "Ready?" Minho asked, offering his arm. "Always," Elena said. They walked into the party together, and Elena thought about that night at the Beverly Hills Hotel when she'd been invisible, when she'd spilled wine and thought her life was ending. She'd been wrong, her life was just beginning. And sometimes the biggest destinies came from the smallest accidents. What do you think? Did Elena make the right choice in accepting Minho's job offer? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective on taking risks and second chances. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more inspiring narratives like this. Rate this story from 0 to 10 and let us know what kind of stories you'd like to see next. Thank you for being part of this journey with us.